Recently, I have really been enjoying taking a single raw ingredient and seeing how many ways one can prepare it. Whether that be the humble potato, a couple months back now, or most recently, corn, which was also really good, but today, in this one, we will be exploring the onion. No matter their form, fried, caramelized, or straight up raw, I have no issues with any onion, and if you do, I think you need to grow up. They're just such a distinctive and super versatile ingredient, and to perfectly put that to the test today, will be a straight up griddled onion sandwich, as well as some classic beer battered onion rings, Alton Brown's famous onion dip, and to round everything off, the Outback Bloomin' onion. My apologies to anybody that I speak to or approach within the next week, as I assume I will have onion vapors just seeping out of my pores. But I am sure it will be worth it, so let's get right into this one. We are going to be starting out this one very strong and testing out how much I actually like onions with this straight up onion sandwich from old school Kevmo. To make it, you will need some olive oil and mayo, butter and Dijon mustard, some sliced sourdough bread and a red and yellow onion, a fresh lemon, garlic, salt and pepper, and some fresh thyme. I definitely wanted to start with this roasted garlic sauce, since that is going to take the longest. The garlic has to be prepared with some oil, salt and pepper, fresh thyme, and then roasted in the oven for about 45 minutes. If this is done properly, this should actually end up looking disgusting, in my opinion, because once I had all my other ingredients whipped up together, between the mayo, the Dijon, the lemon juice, you have to remove your garlic from its foil tin and then squirm out all the little cloves. To all my Dr. Pimple Popper fans out there, you probably can catch on to what I'm getting at. And the rest of the sandwich is literally just some toasted bread, some thick cut onions, and that is it. I do like the fact that we're using two different kinds of onions for this one. It's kind of a good preemptive recipe for the rest of the video. And I mean absolutely no disrespect when I say this, but I cannot help myself. Dash, you seem like a very talented and sweet guy, but if somebody told me about the onion sandwich and then asked me to picture who would create and consume said onion sandwiches, it would most definitely have to be you. That would fit the bill perfectly. Although I can't talk, no hate at all, look at myself. My absolutely busted hairline and wannabe hipster style gets clowned on, rightfully so, every single day. I did run into a minor issue toasting the bread. I left it in the pan for a little bit too long, but it is nothing an old restaurant trick could not fix. Yes, I would literally sometimes watch the chefs sit there scraping the burnt part off the toast or grilled cheese or whatever they were making. But yeah, after about 90 minutes or so, we accomplished the onion sandwich in all of its glory. I have many more thoughts I could sit here and ramble about, but let's give it a try. This is good. I've got absolutely no shame in admitting that this is really tasty. There's literally nothing to not like about this. It is charred up, well-seasoned onions, really beautifully toasted bread with some trickery. The best part for me is this roasted garlic sauce. God damn, is that good. I will be making that again. But as much as I just enjoyed those first few bites, will I ever make this sandwich as a whole again? Probably not. It's still a couple steps a little bit too strange for me. I feel like it needs just one more thing. This would be an incredible base to add sausage and peppers to. Maybe a big old slab of fried eggplant would be really good in there as well. I think this is the first food I've ever made that I can't think of anything to complain about taste or texture wise that I probably won't make again. Shout out to the original creator for going out on a limb and trying this thing. You guys let me know. You think you would ever try something like this? Next up today, we've got the classic beer battered onion ring from the TikTok legend, Daniel McCoyne. I acquired a Corona and some root beer, some garlic powder and salt, flour, paprika, and then a whole bunch of yellow onions. Shout out to my friend Sawyer for recommending this one. I knew Daniel was pretty popping on TikTok and his videos are super funny and entertaining, but I don't think I realized the degree to which he has done well recently. He's pushing 3 million followers, pulling in millions of views. You can only be happy for the guy, but besides that, I was also willing to do this one because I've never seen a beer batter including root beer. I don't know if he read a recipe somewhere and maybe got confused, or this is something that exists. Please tell me if you've ever seen this. But I basically used equal parts of the Corona and the root beer into the bowl, combined with your other dry stuff, the paprika, garlic powder, salt, and flour, of course. And then after a single thorough drop into the batter, they go right into the oil at 350 degrees for a couple of minutes until they're a nice deep golden brown. I don't know if I've mentioned this in the past, but I love onion rings. I will always order them in place of French fries if I have the option to. But I haven't had them in a while. I've been trying to lay off the fried foods for a little bit, for obvious reasons. I only eat them when absolutely necessary, like right now, because these look incredible, especially when paired with a little bit of ranch, so let's give them a shot. I forgot if I mentioned this, but these smell unbelievable. It smells like walking into a Hard Rock Cafe or a Margaritaville, one of those types of restaurants. These are perfect. I would be thrilled with these in any of the restaurants I just mentioned or anywhere else. They are super light and crisp. Just by touching them and holding them, you can tell how light and airy it is. I've always said that I don't know why we don't utilize that wet dredge technique more. Almost a tempura, obviously a little bit thicker, but it just always results in such a crisp and light product. You can kind of see right here where the batter is separated from the onion, how light of a coating that is. It is so good. Just like Daniel, gotta go in with a little bit of the ranch. Super good and simple, as you saw. I've got nothing to complain about. Third on the lineup today is a recipe I have been dying to try out since I first saw it, primarily for the creator, to be honest. And of course, it is Alton Brown and his classic onion dip. I grabbed my favorite kind of chips and some olive oil, some sherry, garlic powder and salt, some Duke's mayo and baking soda, sour cream, a bit of water, some dark brown sugar, lots of onions, and some ground white pepper. I'm positive that I have already confessed my love to you guys for Alton Brown and basically everything he touches. I think that was back in the big chicken parmesan episode I did where he trounced the competition, unsurprisingly. But if you missed that one, Alton Brown is a legend. He's the original Babish, Ragusia, whoever you want to say. Nobody made food content like this before him. He is super informational. You're not only going to know what you need to make these things, but exactly why you're using that stuff too. For example, the mandolin that he uses to slice up his onions, probably a poor timing for that rant, because I'm not using that. I'm still terrified of that thing after I lost my thumb tip. If you've got one at home, by all means use it if you want to, and you want to risk a hospital visit, but for me, it's pretty much the only thing I'm not going to do that Alton recommends. Moving on from that, just like he does, I'm going to salt my onions up, load in some dark brown sugar and some baking soda, reduce these all the way down, basically to a paste, combining them with some sour cream and Duke's mayo, a little bit of garlic powder, some salt, and white pepper to create our finalized onion dip. I did let this mixture sit in the fridge overnight, just like Alton recommends, to let the flavors permeate each other, let everything kind of mellow out. As I said, I have been dying to try this thing, and it is finally time, so let's give it a shot. Just my opinion, of course, but for an application like this, I think you need a chip like this. Something super crunchy that's gonna hold up under the weight of the dip, something strong flavored, a jalapeno or a all-dressed or something like that, something that will cut the fatty richness of this dip. But of course, it's completely up to you. After all, it shouldn't be the star of this show. Wow. I expected this a little bit because of the onions, but not to this degree. This thing is unbelievably sweet. I've also never bought or consumed Duke's mayo. It could be coming a little bit from that too. But this thing is borderline a cake frosting. It is so sweet. Thank God I picked a jalapeno chip and not something else sweet like a barbecue. Maybe this is just what onion dip is supposed to be, and I'm just partial and biased to what I grew up with. But either way, it's still gotta be an acquired taste that, unfortunately, I don't think is for me. Now we are on to a heavyweight. For our very last onion entry of the day, we will be recreating the blooming onion from Outback. And for that, I gathered together some ketchup and beer, garlic powder and mayo, AP flour, cornstarch, some dried oregano and cayenne pepper, paprika, horseradish, salt and pepper, some fresh garlic, and some large Vidalia onions. If you couldn't already guess from that ingredient list, we will be not only recreating the blooming onion itself, but also the spicy horseradish sauce that is usually served in the very middle. In my opinion, that is what takes this dish over the top. It is absolutely vital to the eating experience. And if you've never tried it, it is so good. It's very similar to the zesty sauce from Burger King, if you've ever had that too. And I wanted to get that whipped up first and sent off to the fridge, so it is ready to go at the end. Now, when I was first planning this video, I was gonna do any old blooming onion recipe that I found over on TikTok or YouTube, whatever was popular and looked really good. But eventually, I ended up on this recipe from copycat.com. It's a website that tries to imitate fast food recipes from big chains as closely as possible. And apparently, this is an exact replica of the Outback version, and I wanted to give Outback some love because, according to most sources, they are the OGs, the creators of the blooming onion. And these days, you'll find these things at every block party, carnival, state fair, whatever you call them. But I've never made one, so I'm gonna try my tail off to nail these on the first try today. You have to mix together your seasoned flour mixture that the onion will get dipped twice in. Then of course, your wet dredge, which is some flour and spices, a little bit of that beer. And this is very time consuming. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. You're supposed to individually separate every single onion petal. Make sure they all get coated in both the dry and the wet dredge, so everything separates in the oil and kind of cooks and crisps up evenly. You're gonna need a huge pot of 400-degree oil. Be very careful if you're doing this at home, please. And then dunk your onion down very carefully for a couple of minutes until everything looks nice and crisp and golden brown. At first, I was very pleasantly surprised with how this came out. It looks super promising. I think it got fully cooked all the way through, but as I tried to core out the middle to create a little space for our sauce, I learned that was not the case. The raw batter was oozing out from everywhere. You're not really supposed to remove the entire core all the way to the bottom because that's what's holding this entire onion together. So it did end up looking like straight up dog shit, but on my second try, I cooked it for a little bit longer. I only scooped out the top half of the core. I'm sure with more practice, I would get the technique down a little bit better, but this should provide a perfect proof of concept. So let's give our final recipe a try. It has been a long, oniony road, but we have arrived. As much love as I have given these things, especially the concept of them, deservedly so, I don't eat them that frequently, probably once every 4 or 5 years at most. So if this is good enough, it will fulfill my quota until 2025. Holy shit, I thought it was 2020. I just tried to quickly think of what year it was, and my brain told me it was 2020. Wow. Guess I meant to say 2027. Anyway. Oh, that sauce, man. This is another delicious food. I'm sure you're very tired of hearing me say that by now. But as I sat here and ate this, I kind of started thinking, do I love the blooming onion, or is it just a vessel for me to inhale and drink this horseradish sauce? Because the onion's fine. I mean, it's just onion rings in a different shape. But that sauce, man, why do we not utilize horseradish more? The onion part is very good too. Don't get me wrong, I love the sweet Vidalia onions for stuff like this. I didn't really nail the procedure, as you can see. I really tried hard to separate those petals, but after cooking, they were still a little bit stuck together for some reason. But overall, I would say this was a very successful and tasty day, although I probably should go run 15 miles now.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.